You know, I gotta admit,
sometimes I try to be a hater.
and all that means is that I'm resisting my own feelings. There's some fragrances I've smelled where my nose has said,
wow,
but my mind has said, nah. And that severance or that disconnect is something I've been trying to spend more attention to over the years as I've smelled more fragrances, as my journey has unfolded before me. And I've had to kind of just come to terms with the fact that some fragrances I actually really like, even though I might have these mental blocks of why I wouldn't wear it, or insecurities about like, where would I wear this? How would I wear it? What would people think if I wore this? I've had to kind of just bridge the gap and say, you know what? I don't really care. I like these fragrances. I tried to hate them. I had preconceptions, I had preconceived notions, but at the end of the day, they smell really good to me. So I'm going to tell you what these 5 fragrances are. Let's dive right in. First, I'm actually going to do the first 2 kind of back to back here. These are both coming from Dior. This first one up here is a fragrance I did review. This is the new Dior Sauvage Elixir, and I did a review there. I did a first impressions, a live first impression, what I call a real world review, where I gave you my first impression live on camera. I wore it. I came back later in the video and tell you my final thoughts. The reason why I was skeptical about this is because I don't really care for this entire collection. At one time I owned the Eau de Toilette, at one time I owned the Eau de Parfum. I got rid of both of those. I think I have a little mini of the Parfum. It's okay, but they're all just a little bit too basic for me. So I blind bought this. I like the sound of it. I like the look of it. And I said, you know what? I might be crazy here for expecting something different, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And this kind of blew me away. Really surprised me. They added a lot of depth to this otherwise kind of fresh, metallic, spicy, shower gel, kind of juvenile, but very versatile fragrance. They made it deeper and richer and warmer, added a bit of a sweetness to it. It has a little bit of this interesting oily quality that is not the greatest up close. I wouldn't call this a cozy scent, but it makes it so it's a little bit more mature, more refined, and more elegant. This is something you can more easily dress up than the other Dior Sauvage renditions. It's good. It's not amazing, but it's very good. Is it overpriced? Yes, very much so. But I tried to hate it because I knew I didn't like the rest of them, but I think I've worn this thing at least 10 times since I've gotten it, which is a lot for as much as I've had it. So Dior Sauvage Elixir, again, I'm not telling you to go buy this thing, but if you want to know how I feel about it, I think it's decent, especially if you're not a fan of the rest of the line, it might be worth looking into. And we got to talk about Dior Homme 2020. Now, the only reason I was skeptical about this is because first I was excited. And then I saw people actually getting it and smelling it and reviewing it and saying, wow, it smells nothing like the original. I love the original. And I was hoping for some kind of reimagining of it, but no, this is a complete departure from it. So I was going into it thinking,
this is just gonna be some basic, whack, watered down fragrance.
Another cash grab. Dior ruining one of their most classic and heralded fragrances. So I got a sample of it from my friends at Decant X. I did a first impressions video. I don't remember when that video was. I smelled it and I was like, you know what? I like this. I'm trying not to, but I like it. There's something about it I enjoy. I spent more time with that decant, so I ended up getting a full bottle of it. And I really, really enjoy this stuff. It is simple, so there's not a lot of complexity to it, but I wouldn't call it basic because it doesn't smell exactly like all the other very mainstream mass market designer fragrances out there that are being thrown at men as a very versatile, easy to wear kind of scent. This is different. It's not super fresh and aquatic and blue and fruity and bubblegummy and all that stuff. This is woody. It's kind of fresh, balsamic, dry woods with a bit of a sexy kind of musky appeal to it. Very easy to wear. Very Dior-esque still. Again, nothing like the original, but undeniably very good. I'm a fan. Dior Homme 2020. I really tried, but I couldn't surmount it. Smells great. Up next is a fragrance that I was mostly kind of afraid of. When I first smelled this in 2017 when it came out, I got a decant from my boy Ricky Kanda over at Alpha Fragrances. I smelled it and I was like, whoa, I like this, but I cannot wear this. People would think I smell like dirt if I put this on. And that is what I held on to for years until I finally decided, you know what, I love this. I'm just gonna go ahead and buy it because it's discontinued. It's gonna become harder to find. let me get me a bottle just so I know I have it. Gucci Guilty Absolute Pour Homme. Again, not something that everyone loves. I absolutely love this fragrance. I tried not to because I was afraid of it. It's a very brash profile, very leathery, kind of medicinal, woody, dry, vetiver, earthy. Nothing sweet here, nothing fresh really about it. Distinctive scent, very standout kind of fragrance. Something I would only really want to dress up, and something I would not want to overspray because it is very brash, as I said. But I can't deny that I love this stuff. I spent years trying to distance myself from it, but the gravity was too great. Had to get a bottle. That is Gucci Guilty Absolute Pour Homme. Now this is a fragrance that's a little different from the rest. It was too much. It was overwhelming when I first tried it. And the scent profile just felt a little bit beyond me, beyond my comprehension, and also just beyond my years. This is Bracken Man from Sauvage. This is a recent pickup. I just bought this. I knew I had to come back to it. When I smelled this for the first time, I said, okay, this is interesting. This is very, very complex. I don't feel comfortable wearing this. I know I can't wear this right now, but if I come back to it later, I know I will appreciate it. And I was right. This is an incredible fougere scent. So it is based on lots of lavender, very fresh lavender, very spicy, but the spices here are primarily coming from cloves. Now cloves are a very polarizing spice. They can be very dry and arid smelling. So there's almost a stuffiness to the freshness of the scent. And that is what I couldn't handle last time I smelled it, which is again years ago. It smelled, again, very mature, like I would need to be in a full suit every time I put this on. That's what I thought, but I've just kind of grown into this kind of scent profile, and now I couldn't get away from it. I knew I had to have it. It is incredible. Again, fresh, kind of has this barbershop feel, but very, very dry and spicy. Lots of woods like cypress in here as well. Distinctive. Trust your nose. Trust your nose. At least get a decant, use that decant, live with it. You might be surprised. Bracken Man from Sauvage. And speaking of surprises, here at number 1, this may surprise many of you. I tried to dislike this fragrance. I tried to hate it, honestly, because it was so hyped. It still kind of is, and it's considered niche, but it's not really, if you're asking me. It's coming from a brand that only makes perfumes, which we can call a niche fragrance brand. But the profile itself is not trying to do anything different. Let's be real. There's nothing artistic about this fragrance. There's nothing boundary pushing about it. There's nothing even super high quality about it. It does remind me of a lot of designer fragrances on the market, but it does smell fantastic. This is coming from Man Aitea, and this is called Cedrat Boise. Yes, I tried to hate this fragrance. Even when I first smelled it from a decant, I liked it. Again, my nose liked it, but my mind was like, nah, bro, like, this is kind of basic. You're really gonna spend money on something like this. You should want to smell more interesting and more different than this. And I do. That is where my taste leans. I would rather stand out with my fragrance. I would rather wear something that's gonna captivate me all day long. Not something that just smells great for an hour or two and then it gets kind of boring and I stop thinking about it. But I always knew I enjoyed it. I like it. I like it. It's fruity, it's citrusy and fresh, it's woody, it's quite sweet. I even get a bit of this powdery vibe that's actually very pleasant. Again, not something that when I spray it on 7 hours later, I'm like, I'm just loving this stuff. It doesn't really change all that much on my skin. I'm looking for more interest. That's just me. That is just me and my journey. That is what I look for out of my fragrances. I want them to capture me through the day, because it's not just about that first hour. Some of you guys are looking for the interest of other people as your priority. That is fine, but I'm more about me and how I feel about it. And I tried to stay away from this because I didn't think it would suit my needs, but it's really nice. Not mad at having it. That is Cedrat Boise from Man Aitea. All right, those are 5 fragrances that, again, I tried to hate, but I couldn't deny that I really enjoy. I would love to know, what is your experience with these if you've tried them? Some of them may have been love at first sniff. Some of them may have been hate at first sniff and maybe continue to be. Or nonetheless, tell me at least one fragrance that you have now, but at first you tried to hate and try to convince yourself you didn't like it or didn't need it, but really you actually enjoyed it. Let me know what that is down in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.